Boy, you know, I'm speaking just before the speech teacher. And you're not supposed to leave the lectern when you give a public speech. But this is not a speech. This is going to be an SOS kiss for you tonight. Now, what does that mean? First of all, it's a send-off sharing. Those of you that have me in class know I ask you to play a role when you do a case. And tonight, I want you to play the role. Here's the role. When I saw last lecture, before I read the book, I had something in my mind. Even after I read the book, it's still in my mind. You are getting ready to go out into the real world, and this is the last time I'm going to talk to you. And so this is my send-off to you. And of course, we're going to keep it simple, sweetheart. Now, I know you've heard keep it simple, stupid. My sweetheart's in the back of the room. I'm not going to kiss anybody stupid, only my sweetheart. You want to meet her? Come see us afterwards. So that's what we're going to do with that. Now, the first thing I need to share with you is you can be whatever you want to be if you're willing to pay the price. Stop and think about that. You can be whatever you want to be if you're willing to pay the price. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, let me position you first. You have to E-add an M-tid, of course. Well, you knew that, didn't you? Oh, you didn't? Okay, well, everything is a decision. Oh, there's so much going on that you can't control. Everything is a decision. If you took principles of marketing, you saw that little diagram with the C in the middle, the 4 P's around it, and that big circle around the outside of all the uncontrollable variables. Or if you're a senior in strategic management, you've learned about the 6 elements of the general environment, all of which are totally uncontrollable. Hey, 90% of your life is uncontrollable, ladies and gentlemen. What you decide to do behavior-wise and attitude-wise, and I see Dean Reinhardt's here tonight. You know, I blow it sometimes, get in trouble, get my hand slapped and things like that. You know, it happens all to me more than you might imagine. Nevertheless, you decide how to behave, and the idea is to behave in a way that puts you on top. Everything is a decision. And, of course, enthusiasm makes the difference. Like Charlie Roberts said a little while ago, I borrowed this from the Dale Carnegie people, and what they say is the way to be enthusiastic is to act enthusiastic. If you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic. Right, Charlie? All right. Enthusiasm. So you've seen this before. Livermore, opportunities. Jeff Halprin, stream of consciousness. Hans de Spain, rational versus emotional. Hopefully rational up here overcomes everything else he talked about. Okay? Colleen Collis, laughter, fun. Charlie Roberts, enthusiasm, fun. Be positive. Enthusiasm makes the difference. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the positioning. So, now I got to tell you some stuff. I'm going to tell you some things about myself, not a whole lot. I'm going to tell you about my real life heroes, and I'm going to tell you about the people whose character and conduct have guided my adult life. First of all, my dad. My dad was the first high school graduate in our family on either side. And some of you have heard me introduce myself, and the first time you had me for class have heard some of this. My family, I came from a very low level of our social strata. My grandfather Downs went into the coal mines of Pennsylvania when he was 7 years old. He worked full time in the mines until he was 21. He went into the mines in 1893. Unlike most of his friends, he decided to get out of the mines. And when he was 21 years old, he went to work for the Pennsylvania Railroad. He became a brakeman, and throughout his life, He was a maintenance man, factory worker, never drove a car, had a third-grade education. He and my grandmother had 3 children. My dad was the youngest. When my dad was about 7 or 8 years old, they discovered that he had a photographic memory. And I was astounded, because all through my childhood and adult life, my teen life, I never knew this. But when I came home from the Marine Corps, we were sitting at the dinner table one night, and my younger sister, who was a sophomore in high school, said, "Are you ready, Dad?" And he sort of grinned a little. My dad was extreme, believe it or not, my father, the quietest guy in the world. Where did I come from? Okay. Well, I came from Uncle Mick, but we'll talk, not really true, but I'll tell you about that. So he said yes, and so my sister gets up from the table, walks in the living room, walks back, and she's got the newspaper with her. Now this is about, 6 o'clock at night. She said, "Okay, Dad, section B, right-hand column, 3rd paragraph, 4th line." And my dad said a bunch of stuff. Sister gave me the newspaper. My dad said that, what was in that 4th line, word for word. He read the paper at 6:30 that morning. My father held a record in his high school, Cole Township, Pennsylvania. Now, when the Depression came, he was still in high school, about to go into high school, and the family made a decision. His brother and his sister quit, worked, so the family could stay together. My dad went through high school. Never went to college. He was trained as an accountant, and he could make numbers sing. The thing he gave to his family, my 2 sisters and brother, is he stretched himself and put us into a suburb of Rochester, New York that had an outstanding school system. Arundequite, New York, Arundequite High School is one of the top 50 public high schools in the United States of America. And here's one proofs of that. Now, I may say this a little bit wrong. There were 125 people in my graduating high school class. I was not in the top 1/4, and my SAT scores in my senior year were in the 92nd centile. And I was in the top 1/4 of the class. My dad went forward and made out for his family. And I remember that. My dad died very young, in his early 50s. My Uncle Milton is my other real-life hero. When I was 4, 5, 6 years old, there were things going on in our family, and Uncle Milton and his girlfriend, then wife Stella, spent a lot of time taking care of me, taking me places, and so on and so forth. Now I got to tell you, ladies, Uncle Milton was a real hunk. About 6'1", as good looking as His Majesty Brent Lineberry, and you know, his about to be wife Stella was just beautiful, not quite as tall but as good looking as Kara Lodor, and so, you know, a really great couple. And they took care of me, and you know, now I know you're going to have to imagine this, but when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, I was much smaller than I even am now, but I was what they called towhead blonde, real platinum blonde, little rosy cheeks, bright blue eyes, and Aunt Stella called me her little cherub tyke. And I'm telling you, can you believe me, a little cherub tyke? Anyway, I was in their wedding, I was 5.5 years old, walked down the aisle, it was my first public appearance in a tux, and you know, carried the rings and did great. It was really interesting, and soon after the wedding, when we would be together, my uncle would start talking to me. I could tell he was serious. And I was, 6 years old, didn't understand a whole lot. And he would tell me about, he said, when as you go through life, you want to be successful and you want to do the right thing, and a lot of real basic, simple kinds of things for a 6-year-old. Well, you see, the thing was, Private First Class Milton A. Siles, United States Marine Corps, was killed on Iwo Jima in February 1945. I've missed that man my whole life. And a lot of the things I've done because I wanted to please Uncle Mick, because he took such good care of me when I was a little kid. Maybe that's why I joined the Marine Corps. I don't know. So those are my real life heroes.